This is the Week in Review for thetrumpet.com, Friday, September 2nd, 2011. Early Monday morning, a Palestinian man wounded 8 Israelis. The man from the West Bank hijacked a taxi in Tel Aviv, stabbed the driver, ran over police officers at a checkpoint near a nightclub, and then got out of the car and stabbed several bystanders. As he was intercepted and arrested by police, he declared, "God is great," in Arabic. Israel has been at an increased alert level since the August 18th attacks that killed 8 Israelis. Israel fears that as the Palestinians push for statehood later this month, they may trigger a third intifada. Libyan rebels are now taking control of the country, but the new National Transitional Council is already running into trouble. The council plans to appoint one of Muammar Gaddafi's former generals as the head of security in Tripoli, but the news sparked about 500 people in Misrata to publicly protest. General Albarani Shkal reportedly led the Libyan army's attack on Misrata earlier on in the war before defecting to the rebel cause in May. Misrata's ruling council declared that if the appointment was confirmed, its military units would refuse to follow the orders of the National Transitional Council. This is just one early example of the challenges facing Libya's new government. The country's new leaders need something to consolidate the fractious rebels. This unstable environment could be fertile ground for the ambitions of Islamist and jihadist groups. Islamists have already pressured Libyan leaders into drafting a constitution that establishes Sharia law as the principal source of legislation. Watch for radical Islam to gain strength in the new Libya. Get ready for Europe to intervene in the Middle East and North Africa. That is what French President Nicolas Sarkozy declared at France's annual ambassadors conference on Wednesday. Sarkozy said that in the future, the European Union will play a bigger role than the United States in these regions. Sarkozy said the world is changing and that U.S. President Barack Obama's vision is for Europe to assume its own military responsibilities. He added that the EU should play a bigger role in the Israeli peace process. The French president also had strong words for Iran, saying that its military ambitions could provoke a preventative attack. The trumpet has long forecast that Europe would become heavily involved in the Middle East, but it won't be France dominating. Watch for Germany to take over the reins of Middle East foreign policy. On Tuesday, Philippine President Benigno Aquino III embarked on his first-ever state visit to China. Aquino was accompanied by a delegation of 300 Philippine businessmen. Ahead of the visit, Manila softened its criticisms of Beijing's assertive behavior. The Philippines is in an economic slowdown and hopes to attract more Chinese investment. The Philippines has historically tried to balance economic benefits from China with its military pact with the United States. But Beijing wants to use its increasing financial influence to draw Manila away from Washington and to gain more control of the South China Sea. The trumpet continues to forecast that the Philippines will ultimately turn its allegiance away from America and toward its former enemy, China. Japan has a new prime minister, Yoshihiko Noda, and Beijing is wasting no time in trying to draw him closer to China. On Tuesday, Chinese Prime Minister Wen Jiabao congratulated his incoming Japanese counterpart and said he hoped both sides could enhance bilateral relations. Watch for Prime Minister Noda and his government to quickly warm up to China, even though Sino-Japanese relations have experienced choppy waters in the past. On Tuesday, thousands of Youth League members began a riot at the African National Congress headquarters in Johannesburg. Youth supporters hurled rocks and harassed journalists, and South African police fired stun grenades and water cannons to contain the crowd. The anarchy was a show of support for ANC youth leader Julius Malema, who is facing a disciplinary hearing. Malema made statements about the ANC supporting a political coup in Botswana. One of the protesters said they would make South Africa worse than Libya if the hearing did not come out the right way. In the past, Malema has called for nationalizing the mines and for seizing white-owned farms, and he has also captured the imaginations of thousands of radical youths. Fanning the flames of racial tension has brought Malema forceful support, but it is also bringing the nation to the brink of race war. Americans on the East Coast are dealing with the devastation of Hurricane Irene this week. The hurricane made landfall in North Carolina and New Jersey and caused extensive flooding and wind damage from Florida all the way through Vermont and into part of Canada. The storm is rated as one of the costliest in American history, with damage estimates of $7 to $10 billion. Besides killing dozens of people, Irene washed away homes and businesses, as well as bridges, roads, and other infrastructure. The storm has also flooded cotton and tobacco crops, halted fishing, kept commuters from their jobs, and washed away some of the area's tourism. Late this week, Tropical Storm Katia is being tracked as it moves in the general direction of the Bahamas and the American Southeast. ExxonMobil formed an exploration partnership with Russia's Rosneft State Oil Company. The deal gives ExxonMobil some rights to Arctic exploration, but it also gives the Russian government-controlled group minority stakes in the Gulf of Mexico and oil fields in Texas. If the deal goes through, it will be the first time that Moscow has ever owned parts of American oil fields. As the United States struggles to implement a coherent energy policy, foreign powers are attempting to wrestle control of its energy out of Washington's hands. That is the Trumpet.com Week in Review.